welcome everybody. How's everyone doing? Awesome. Here we go. All right, so welcome to the elevator. Yeah, so welcome. As Crystal or Scott has mentioned, my name is Daniel. I'll be your power plant tour guide for this tour. Right now, this elevator and the one behind with the other half of the group is descending down 537 feet inside the heart of Black Canyon. That's roughly about a 54 hotel story building and traveling right now at 15 miles per hour. Smooth, easy ride, yeah?
Yep.
Does it feel like we're going 15?
No.
Hardly feels like we're moving at all. That's because we're going 6. So we'll be arriving in about a minute. When we exit this elevator, first stop is a diversion tunnel. We're going to be talking about the construction of the dam, how everything works down there. The generator room, we'll see those units on the Nevada side. At the end of the tour, those of you with the wristbands, red, white, and blue dam tour wristbands, you're going to be reunited back with Crystal, going on your next half hour inside the dam, and I will never see you again at that point. So make sure you have those wristbands visible so she can see. Anyone else that's in the power plant will try to go with her. If she doesn't see a wristband on, then she's going to turn them back with me. So make sure that your wristbands are visible. Cameras, phones, tablets, you got them? Take all the damn pictures.
Scotty stole that from you.
Follow in? Yep, right that way. I'm just stepping out of the way.
Do you still want to do that catapult tour when we go to Paris? With the... Everybody here being silly. Thanks, Aaron. It says, wow, they want to do this. Oh, you can see the stuff going on.
Was that before?
Here we are. Welcome everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good. Awesome. So, for those who were on the other elevator, welcome. This is Daniel. I'll be your power plant tour guide for this tour. And right now we are inside the heart of Black Canyon, 537 feet inside, and we're inside the inner diversion tunnel on the Nevada side. This is the inner tunnel right there on the map. That here, Arizona's on this side, and so these 4 tunnels during the beginning of construction blasted out these 4 tunnels, 56 feet in diameter, approximately 4,000 feet long. It took 19 months to complete all 4 of them, lined them all up with 3 feet of concrete all the way around, making them 50 feet in diameter, and then all the loose rock and materials that were removed out of the tunnels were stored somewhere, left over, so when they were ready, they would be able to create the coffering. The cofferings were needed to basically force the river or prevent the river from backfilling into the site, or the river here to force it into the diversion tunnels on each side. And so here, this one was a 98-foot tall upper cofferdam. They built a bridge across the river, and trucks would drive and unload and dump a bunch of that material into the river system. So once they got the dry space in between, they had to excavate 135 feet to reach a solid foundation down to bedrock. And then from there began the construction of the dam. The first bucket of concrete here was placed on June 6, 1933, and every 78 seconds they deliver a bucket containing 8 cubic yards or 16 tons. Delivered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, three 8-hour shifts. The entire construction completed 1 week shy of 2 years. May 29, 1935 was the last pour. Now the workers here on site, they only had 2 days off a year. Any guesses what they were back then? Christmas? Not New Year's, not Labor Day, not Thanksgiving, Independence Day, yes. 4th of July, yeah, those were the only 2 days off allowed a year, and it was optional. You come into work that day if you wanted to. But if you called out and you got sick, you didn't show up to work on your scheduled work day, that was it, you were fired. You could reapply again multiple times, and if you didn't get caught, you were able to get away with it by changing your name. No Social Security back then. Yeah, so that's how they did it. After completing the dam, the next step, of course, is to create this large reservoir we have Lake Mead. To do this part, we have to close off the diversion tunnels. We don't need them anymore. So they used a 3 million pound steel door to close off the entrance and added a 125-foot concrete diversion tunnel pumps. Three of them will be closed off. One of them remained open so they can deliver the water downstream for California. It'll be about 1.5 years until the lake was high enough to reach the 4 towers behind the dam, and then closed off the last diversion tunnel. Excuse me, why did I point it out? This one right here. The lower cofferdam would be destroyed, dynamited out. The upper cofferdam remains to this day underwater. They did not want to spend the time or resources on destroying it, so they let the water fill over the top. The reservoir, Lake Mead, water flows into these 4 intakes through large pipes we call penstocks, 30-foot diameter boiler steel plate pipes. Water will flow into them, traveling out to 96,000 gallons a second, transferring over to smaller pipes leading down. It hits the governor. The pressure that they need for that water to hit that turbine at 50 miles per hour, they use the butterfly valve to get the pressure they need. And so from there, there'll be another system of pipes underneath the turbine that sends the water out back to the river system. That's where you see a lot of the movement at the bottom of that U-shaped building. Now, lastly here, spillways. Nevada, Arizona spillway. These 2 spillways were built for flood control, emergency purposes only. We do not ever want to use them, but they tested them out for the first time in 1941 to test it. This took 6.5 years to fill the lake all the way to max capacity, so they could test it. 1983, second time in history, they actually had to use the spillways. Taking a look right here at this photograph of the flood event of 83, the snowpack levels in 83 were very high, and it melted too quickly. What caused it to melt so quickly? It was due to the El Nino year we had in 83. The snow melted too quickly, and all that traveled downstream through the river system, which the entire Colorado River, lakes and dams were at max capacity. So, where do we have to send this water? Well, of course, downstream. There's nowhere else to put it. So, the lake here in Mead filled up an extra 4 feet above its max capacity. 4 feet above its max capacity, that's just about 7 feet below the top of the dam. So over, almost from the top of the roadway, almost reach over and touch the water from there. So yeah, that's how far up it was. But the lake, the water went over the spillways on each side around the dam for 63 consecutive days nonstop. So what was the equivalent of just about exactly the equivalent of Niagara Falls. So yeah, that's how much it was going over. Now, all that water, of course, emptied out into the Gulf of California, and another reason why we don't want the lake this high is evaporation rate is going to be quite a lot, especially when if it's that high. Every year we do lose a lot of water to evaporation, but not as much as if it was that high. only 3 times the 300,000 acre feet the state of Nevada uses each year, which we don't even use that amount. We use less than that, about half of that amount. But we are number 1 in the state for conserving water, and we use less than we did back in the 2000s. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Now we're going to make our way over to the generator room and talk about power generation. Let me be the first to exit this room. Follow me back to the elevators. Thank you.
Christina, just these doors. They're like steel. Look at this shit.
Count 45 going in the first time?
I don't remember. When I counted, yeah, I think so.
I'm here by accident. I was just hiking down the trail and I got into a bit and I thought,
Yes, I will.
yeah, that's why I keep doing this because these are directions.
All right, we're gonna head up one floor to the power plant. Will take us about 5 seconds to make this trip. Not very long at all. Going up 33 feet. So here, such a long trip.
I ended up
Down to the alley.
Right.
That's a pretty hot fun, isn't
That's just gotta go back.
it? Yeah. It's really cool, like.
I'll do it the next time.
They're just like swapping groups.
We're all going in the same spot. Right on there.
side of the rail over here. Find a spot anywhere is fine. Take all the pictures you like. Do that now, not at the end of the tour. We will not have time. Okay. It's here. Welcome everyone to the Nevada Powerhouse. Over here, you're seeing 8 red commercial generators. We have 9 on the Arizona side, with a grand total of 17. Each generator here is 70 feet tall, but you're only seeing the top 30 feet of them. The lower 40 feet is below the floor, we call the shaft gallery. At the bottom of the steel shaft is our turbine runner. Water hits that turbine, spins the steel shaft, and then spins the rotor that sits inside that red burgundy colored drum. Above that is the blue spider housing, and you'll see a light shining down in the center on a metal steel shaft. That steel shaft, 70 feet tall, connected to a Francis-style turbine. When in operation, the generators produce up to 130 megawatts of power, spinning at 180 revolutions per minute or 3 per second. That's enough power per generator to provide for at least 65,000 homes. But if all 17 of them were running simultaneously, that's enough power to provide for over 1 million homes, 2,080 megawatts. Looking at the top of the generators, you'll notice there are no lights lit up on top. Now, based on delivery, demand of water downstream dictates how many generators we can run and operate. Right now it's low demand, so we don't need to deliver that much water. But around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, demand will go up and we'll deliver more water downstream. At the same time, produce more power. It's been like this for the past couple of days, right around the same time I mentioned, they had 3 generators in operation. And so, again, it's all about the water, not power. Power is what helps pay the bills. But taking a look above the generators here, we have our green P&H bridge crane. The first bridge crane proudly displays the American flag. And our second bridge crane is further down this room. These 2 will travel the entire distance of this room on tracks for maintenance. They each have a lifting capacity of 300 tons. 300 tons sounds very impressive. That's enough to actually lift the Statue of Liberty. The one in New York, not the one in Vegas. The real one. She weighs 225 tons, and what doesn't weigh 225 tons are the rotors. The rotors inside here weigh up to around 580 to 600 tons. So this crane is going to need help. It's going to get help from its sister crane. The one at the very end. Working together, these 2 cranes will be able to create a super crane that will lift 600 tons. And you will be able to lift out one of those rotors. Move it across and then bolt it down to the floor like this one here. It's covered, but you'll notice the metal steel shaft from the generator. You'll see that right there as well. Now, the rotors, this one from Nevada 3 has been removed since a little over a year ago. It had some internal damage. So they're working on it, fixing it up. And once everything's repaired, put back together, reinstall it back to Nevada 3. But all the components of the rotors, like the armatures, the steel shaft, and the bearings, have not been replaced. They still use to this day. Now, folks, if you take a look back here to this large concrete wall, this is not the dam, it's just a large concrete wall. But 5 feet behind this wall is the actual Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam stands 726 feet tall. The top of the roadway is 45 feet. At this level, you have to go through 450 feet of concrete to reach the waters of Lake Mead, and then swim up 300 feet to get to the surface. Now at the base, at the bottom of Hoover Dam, the base is 660 feet thick, nearly as thick as it is tall. But to give you a visual idea, imagine this entire room filled with concrete. But then this distance is not the thickest part of the base of Hoover Dam. You need to add another 10 feet to the distance of this power plant to reach the base of Hoover Dam. So yeah, 10 feet shorter or shy. So that, folks, is going to wrap up this presentation of the power plant tour. There should be a group of, I forgot how many, but if you have a red, white, and blue wristband, 23 of you, head on over to Crystal. You'll be going on the next half hour inside the wall of the dam. Only for those on the wristbands, red, white, and blue wristbands. If you just have the power plant ticket, you're going to stay with me. Thank you.
Take a look at that photo as we head on in. We are going to fill in this little room here. Excellent. Thank you for having us out, guys. Thanks much. Thanks much. Awesome.
Byproduct of that.
All right. So what do you guys think so far? So pretty amazing, right? The hard part about this job is like the more stuff you learn, the more you want to tell them, the more that it you can't do it all. You know, there's a gazillion books written about this place. There's just so many stories to tell. One of the things that I like to do kind of before we head on into the dam itself is just to take a look at this picture. You know, when they came out here, there was nothing here. Vegas was 5,000 people. It was a stopover between Southern California and Salt Lake City, basically. Now, you did have, you know, miners and stuff from some of the local smaller communities. They'd roll into Vegas and have a little rough and fun kind of tumble kind of time. But there wasn't really much going on. So from 5,000 people to 1934, so 31 to 34, it doubled the population down there. And that was a lot, you know, contributed quite a bit to what was happening out here in this canyon. So you come out to Vegas, there's nothing going on. There's no way to even get to the canyon. So they have to build roads and rails to get the men and the machinery out here. Once they get to the canyon walls, well, they still got to get around. They laid 29 miles of rails along the canyon itself. Then they had to blast paths into the canyon so they could get further down in that canyon. Some of those roads are still visible today. Along the riverbed, they would eventually have workshops, a concrete plant, and all kinds of things. So all of that had to be fabricated. You're talking from this to what we have now, and so many steps in between. But that's why I love this picture, because it's like, man, from nothing to a whole lot of something.
Right.
You know, fantastic. All right, so we are going to turn the corner here in just a second, but one of the things that I know I wanted to point out, you know, this is the All-American Dam. Every state in the union had something to contribute, both in terms of workers and materials. Even this beautiful terrazzo floor is an example of that. You've got white marble from Georgia, black diorite from California. There's green Cardiff marble from Vermont at the end of the tour. And I'm going to tell you, there's a bunch of colors down this tunnel. I don't even know where they came from. New Hampshire, Florida, all kinds of stuff. But what from where, I couldn't say. Take a look though, because I think you'll be really surprised at the beautiful colors involved in this flooring. Now you will see it changes from this black and white to this more colorful design because we're changing locations. As Daniel said, right behind this wall is the dam. So we're heading about 3/4 or 2/3 of the way in. We're going to catch that elevator. We're going to head on up. If you recognize this tunnel, you might have seen it. Diamonds Are Forever. It was featured in that one there. This is also the same tunnel that Griswold was running through in Vegas Vacation, and he gets to the end and he throws open the door and he's like gonna fall out of the dam. That's not a real door, guys. He's silly. So we're gonna head on down and find an actual door that'll take us where we're actually going. So.
Oh, that picture. I'm sorry.
Just want to get one more shot of this. They said that's what it was prior to construction. Wild. might have seen it once. I just don't remember. But I'm definitely gonna watch it again to see.
This elevator, this is the one that's inside the actual dam. This is much smaller than the first elevator we were in. It's about half the size. So there will be another guide to assist me getting everybody upstairs. I'm going to take the first half or so. He's going to bring the second half. I try to take a little more than half the first time because that just gives us a head start when we're in there so we can move everybody through. So that vent cover that Scott pointed out on the base of the dam, the shield-shaped vent cover, is at the end of a long circular tunnel. Okay? So when we get up there and have the first person out of the doorway, just take the lead. You're going to go out and around and right on down. You're going to walk carefully because, again, it's a circle. If you get too high on either side, you could slip. Don't slip. Also, there's a couple of obstructions. They are painted yellow. Don't kick them. But you're going to head on down, take a look, step to the side, take a couple pictures, turn around and come back. If you always stay to the right, there's plenty of room to pass. When you're talking pictures, do me a favor. We have a good sized group. I want everybody to have a chance to get to take some good pictures, but I do have a lot of other stuff I'd like to show you. So if we take too long at the first stop, some of that we end up cutting out. I don't want to do that. But I want to make sure that you take a moment when you're taking that photo, tap your screen so it knows what you're trying to get a picture of. A lot of times guests come back and what they have is an up close look at the two louvers, the vent, the vent cover, and then everything in the background is a blurry mess. You don't want that picture. Sometimes, I know Scott mentioned this too, sometimes people like to put their phone on selfie mode, stick it outside the vent cover and lean it back and get a shot looking up the face of the dam. I know he told you already, but a reminder, I can't go get your phone when you drop it. You gotta stick. You might be able to get a good shot looking up there, but guys, you'll probably just find it on Google Images and save it to your phone. And if you don't tell, then I sure won't. But it's a great picture, but again, I've only had one person ever lose a phone on tour. That's not even where they lost it. But I don't want that to happen because it was really not a good day for anybody that day. Him, myself, or anyone else. So I got 23 this time.
Okay, 23.
Yes, sir.
Right.
All right. And so last thing, just yes, when we head down, watch your heads, watch your steps. U-turn, come on back. Stay to the right at all times. There is a vertical shaft about halfway down. You do not have to cross it. It's triple heavy-duty reinforced steel, great bars underneath. It's perfectly safe. But I tell you about it because sometimes people go, "Woo, you should have told me." Now I told you. Check it out. And here we go. Right on it, guys.
So we go into that shield thing he's talking about, so you can stick.
Look out the window. So we'll see right into the canyon.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. We're gonna do 18. I'm gonna take as many as I can, guys. Matt here's gonna get you on up in just a second. I got 18. That should be everybody.
What's the elevation number?
All right.
705.
So we're underneath the dam right here. Yep, you are within the dam here currently. Yeah, within the wall right now here, yeah. So we're at 705 feet above sea level against the 705 gallery game. You're gonna go up to 975 feet right in the middle of the dam itself there.
What's the point of these hallways in this tunnel?
So the point of this one was to welcome the first tourists in 1937. The typically richer ones, their Great Depression, it would cost them 25 cents back then. Vegas, drinks and steak dinner there. And this was meant to impress, as you can see, kind of like for the subway decor, the Grand Stations, Boston, Chicago, New York.
That's what it seems like.
In those areas, right? Fine porcelain, terrazzo marble floor. The tours would take you down the dam elevator here from the top, 20 at a time until the visitor center was put in 1995. So it'd be this way to the power plant, and they wouldn't actually see the too much of this unvarnished inspection tunnel. They'd be more interested in this here. But this is kind of cooler in my opinion, because you get to see the real life workings of those blocks and the cracks. So this door here, our fancy equipment and some of the mechanical stuff for the elevator here, yeah. Like nothing damn exciting in that section there. Bless you.
This is way too polished. Like, what was this for?
For the tourists. Folks coming from far and away or from locally Nevada? Massachusetts. California. Okay. From Florida. Okay. All types of states there. Cali as well as Massachusetts, Florida. And what part of Florida?
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Okay, I'm from Southwest Florida, across outside by Sarasota, Venice.
Nice.
Good to have some Floridians here. Whereabouts in California, let me ask you?
Currently live in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, big city. All right. Come on, folks, all ready for you.
Oh, it's space, guys. They squeezed 18 in
Yeah,
here.
isn't this better?
They squeezed 18 in here.
All right, here we go. Just in time to escape them pounding away at their rotor. Whereabouts in Massachusetts?
It was south of Boston.
Worcester?
Yeah. No, Worcester's west.
Darn it. I'm like, the one random city I know that's not Boston. Like, you'd be like, I went from a small city in Massachusetts. I'm like, Worcester. This is one I know. I've been there.
This is like 45 minutes from Boston, west of.
Near Plymouth.
Okay.
With south, yeah, with South Coast,
South.
Cape Cod, yeah.
Okay, well, better than me. I've been to Boston once, and that was like 15 years ago. A lot of places to see there. But that's what's fun to be about a guide here too. I'm a park ranger seasonally before this. I worked in Minnesota, New Mexico, and Florida. A little hard to find jobs there. It's just say retirees love those jobs. So it's not too bad.
Everglades never, they
Yeah,
never
right.
leave.
Right?
Lord.
All right, guys, are ready for you? You're gonna exit to the right. Crystal will take hold of you here. Come on out.
Button up to the right.
See you in a little bit.
Right on down. All the way down, just make sure you leave room and stay to the right. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you wanna let
And it's
you wanna let them go first?
Head on down, guys. Head on down, all the way down.
Sorry, I'm taking a photo.
Stay to the right.
I am short. Obstruction. Hold.
Scary, but it's so good. This is what we saw that would look like a window.
Yeah, this
This
is-
is how big it really is. It's small, like a little
Yeah,
shield.
so far away.
Can't believe we're right there. They showed us.
Right?
Wow.
That's awesome.
We're in a whole.
Somebody gotta walk me back across this bridge.
I'm back here already.
Oh, thank you. I'm coming.
I wait. Don't drop the phone that great.
Again, don't put your phone out there.
You're just not feeling that phone for window thing. What are you doing? Deadlines. Did you do it, David? Do it. He dropped his phone. Just put it there.
That's all good. That's all
Give me 2
good.
hands working my phone.
No, no.
Go ahead, try it. Get together.
I'm right behind you, so. You come on up.
Sure.
Yeah. Knock yourself out. This is wild.
Now I see what they're talking about.
Let's see if I can get it like moving.
Tipsy.
I know it is sexy.
Do it like this. You say that, but then you're gonna get up here and it's gonna happen. You're gonna do what I'm doing right this moment.
Yeah. But you're
Two
still
hand,
good. You're
two hand brace. You're gonna do it. I promise.
I'm just gonna look and then you can.
Go ahead.
Then you can go. We're gonna give you our phone number so you can
gonna solve all the details.
When they were doing the construction, actually in the early days.
Let me get one more shot. Gotta get one more.
They had, in this area, they had to like hustle to get the machinery out of the canyon because the water was 16 feet in 16 hours. A foot an hour. But even when you're standing on the dam, if you look at the lakeside, it's big, and you know it gets even bigger just beyond what's visible. It's bottlenecking through this teeny tiny canyon. So 16 feet in 16 hours, that's insane, right? You're like going crazy trying to get the men and the machinery out. It left behind thick layers of sludge in those diversion tunnels. It was so thick they had to actually let it harden and then blast it out. They couldn't even shovel it out. That's how much silt and muck and debris came down. And just a few weeks after that, they had another flood, 17 feet in 3 hours.
Damn.
That's here. Now, mind you, it's not that level everywhere it goes, but that's what was happening right here as they were trying to build this thing. So that's the kind of torrential flood that they were talking about trying to fight. If we can fight it here, we can tame it, we can slow it down, and we can keep everything else downriver kind of in line. And it worked. All right, so we're gonna turn the corner. We're heading over to that stairway to heaven. Now that's the stairs going up, guys. The stairs going down do not have a name, so don't ask. But through the tunnel, you'll see some numbers and things. On the left-hand side, big numbers, 0, plus 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That is how many feet within the column we have traveled. And then you're going to see a joint, an expansion joint, and you're gonna see it start over again at 10. So keep an eye out. On the right-hand side, you'll see letters where the expansion joints meet. Those are the columns. They're just alphabetized. Basically, a quick and easy coordinate system. You may also see some dates. I'm going to try to stop and point those out. Those would be the times when they had found different cracks and things in these tunnels. They'd mark it, they'd come back, inspect it to make sure there wasn't any changes. And thankfully, there weren't. These are all surface cracks, all superficial, nothing to worry about. They probably didn't mention when you got your tickets, this is one of the most seismic states in the nation, but they probably also didn't mention that this thing was built to withstand an 8.6 earthquake. So we can all take some comfort as we continue. Here we go.
There was one the other day in California. It was two. There was a couple.
Good. Good. Everyone's trying to fly out to Baltimore. I was trying to leave DC and come back here on my birthday. I'm driving, like, I'm getting ready. I'm like, God, the train is super heavy. Like, I was driving over the metro, like, God, the train usually was rocking. The earthquake. So I'm like, I de-California'd myself. I had no idea what was happening. I was like trying to get up and do something. Like, why is everything shaking? Like,
Christine,
train.
should we get a shot at the tunnel from this end?
Yeah, when I was at the desert on the 6th floor, I was like, why am I swaying? I was like, oh shit.
This shit's kind of here.
That
is crazy. I was feeling,
The vertigo?
yeah,
Really?
I was feeling like, yeah. They won't say that, okay.
I think I had feel it, like I felt safe on my legs.
You felt safe?
Yeah. But like if I
Buildings on stilts.
like be on an open ledge and look down, that's when I feel it.
That's it. That's
On the
it.
right-hand side,
Your vehicle
come
falls
back
or
up the
something.
right-hand side. In the corner, there is an earthquake sensor. Please do not kick or touch the earthquake sensor. I don't want to know what happens.
I don't want to know.
She didn't say anything.
So head on down, listen carefully too, as you look to the lower stairs, you can sometimes hear that water, that seepage that we saw in the first two tunnels. And anywhere where the dam meets up with the canyon walls, it's kind of keyed in like a big notch. But they put a big grout curtain, there is still bits of water that can seep through. So all that water is collected, it's sent down to the seepage gallery and pumped back out into the waterway. But you can hear it trickling on down, so take a listen. So take a look, take a listen, come right off that corner. And then again, just stay to that right-hand side, so we've got room for passing. Now, don't worry, we do not have to take these stairs. They do serve, though, as an emergency exit.
Should you wish.
Like, if we ever lost power, that'd be like super ironic, but we'd have a way out.
So the stairs that go down, there are access to more tunnels, just for similar to this, right? Just so
Yes.
the grouting tunnels.
So all of these
Got it.
grouting galleries will meet just like this with a landing to this staircase. But it's basically 717 steps from the bottom to the top of the dam. It does come out all the way at the top. The door is vented, so that draft that you feel, this is ever present. So the vents on the face of the dam to get fresh air inside, both for the workers doing all that grouting and the inspecting, but also to help that concrete continue to cure. And there's always this lovely pull through here to ensure fresh air. Now, if you come in the summertime, I'm gonna tell you, it does not feel the same. You turn that corner to go down that first tunnel, it's like a hot air dryer, blow dryer or something. It's just
I can imagine.
a lot of fun. Now, what we've got here, this is a Carlson metering device. So these are all throughout the dam. You see there's 4 here in this picture, but only 2 physically here. Each of these plugs corresponds to the cylinder that was embedded in the concrete blocks. They can come plug in and get real-time data.
Oh, wow.
As far as temperature, pressure, and strain, then they can calculate if that block is ready for the next block on top. So they were not able to pour, the blocks, they'd have to make sure it was ready enough for that next load on top. So 72 hours was the average. But, you get bored, you wanted it done.
Oh, that'd be a good workout.
Yeah, this is amazing, man. The cableway being on those tracks, that was something that Frank Crowe pioneered. He pioneered that at some of the other reclamation dams that he built. He actually ended up leaving the reclamation service to join what later became one of the 6 companies that became 6 companies, because they went from this point where they were building dams to like, hey, we're going to build out the contract, we're going to oversee it, but we're going to hire a contractor to build the dam. So he had to leave the Bureau of Reclamation in order to ever build this dam. But then he went on with one of those companies, became 6 companies, turned around and got the contract awarded. Which is actually part of why when they put in the bid, their bid was pretty on point in terms of what the actual cost was and what their bid was. It was less than $2 million difference, which was really spot on. Some of the other bids that came in, for example,
You can't hear the water.
one of the bids was $200 million for 20% over cost. Tell me you don't know what you're talking about without telling me you don't know what you're talking about. Look at me like, what do you mean? And then one of the other guys with
That's
it's
like,
always funny.
what's that
things
train
come
station?
in.
Is it Grand
Nobody can
Central?
come up with that kind of capital, that
It's like the one in Grand Central?
performance bonds that was needed
That's
in order
wild.
to even be awarded this contract. So that was pretty crazy.
yeah, I won't
But
believe that.
that, that knowledge helped him get this done, and it worked out in the end. He really said, man, I was going to build these things. It worked out. Because these innovations, not only did he get to build it, he got it done 2 years ahead of schedule. And we got a bonus somewhere in between $300,000 to $400,000. Not too shabby, especially for that time. All right, guys, now did you hear me about this here? This is the Carlson metering device. They could plug into these different ports, and then they could get measurement on how the blocks were curing if they were ready for the next blocks to be poured on top. So that's what this is. And then as we turn the corner, you're going to see some really fantastic wood grain in these walls. All of the pine board is what they did the flat parts in. The curved part was done in cypress. Cypress had a higher oil content, which made it easier to pull off of that concrete once it hardened. So the angles involved in the arches made it really difficult. The cypress helped to offset that. But that's why you see a lot of fantastic wood grain in these walls. It is not actual wood. Now that is the imprint of the wood. All right, so let's head on down here and I'll
You hear the water.
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
yeah, you can hear it. It's going through, yeah.
calcium like you saw in the first tunnel. This wasn't here 2 weeks ago, so it's kind of cool. This wasn't here before COVID. This is not lake water coming in. This is just. Could be. But it's basically just the calcium that's seeping out. But this is happening. It tends to happen a lot more after it rains. So we'll see the ground and the walls will get real wet. But what I wanted to point out is this is how serious they were for looking at cracks. Back in June 5th, 41, they found this teeny tiny little crack right here. They marked it. They came back to check it. 11/18/34, 11/18/34 again. 2/13/43, 4/14/38, and 7/23/40. Do we have any winners? Birthdays, matching birthdays? Sooner or later it's gonna happen, guys.
You say 7:15?
7/23. 7/23. But this is how serious they were about monitoring this thing. By having to report back that there's nothing wrong with this dam. Every bit of it's strong as ever. They think this thing will last 2,000 to 3,000 years. And if something happens after that, it doesn't matter to me. That's someone else's problem. Well, this is just a nice spot to show you. There's teeny tiny cracks everywhere. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, no, there are teeny tiny surface cracks all throughout the body. This is just a nice showcase. All right, guys. So that is going to wrap up our tour today. I do want to say thank you so much for coming out. I hope you got some good damn information. If you have any questions, let me know quickly because we're heading on back.
What's the date?
If we go to the Grand Canyon tomorrow, we'll stay there. She said if we go to the Grand Canyon tomorrow.
I'm going tomorrow.
Me too. If you've seen all that, when you get up top, explore the top of the dam. You can walk right up to those buildings.
Yes, thanks for some time.
Yeah, right.
No.
Oh, where?
I should see my date. Do you see it? So 34 and 1934. That's the year?
2/18/43.
So 1943.
All right, so now that they're gone, you guys have any other questions?
Yeah, so one of those,
Oh, yeah. Yes, well, so Nevada gets some of the power. Most of the power goes to California and a good chunk to Nevada, a good chunk to Phoenix.
Oh, so this was the reason why our power was out a week ago. It wasn't pumping enough water.
Hey, so who owns this, the government or the state?
Federal government. Yes, all Bureau of Reclamation, same people that's like Forest Service or BLM.
So part of mine.
Department of the Interior.
Department of the Interior, exactly.
So you were saying earlier, well, somebody was saying earlier, that the water flows to California, we're saying the power powers California.
So both. California is the number one purchaser or number one consumer. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Of both of those. I'm thinking back to when they built the dam, nobody lived in Nevada. You know, 10,000 people in 34. They didn't need any power. So it was contracted out to be bought by Southern California, and then of course Phoenix, like those areas. The fresh water goes to LA, San Diego, Phoenix. And if you think about it, I mean, like, if you've ever seen the California aqueduct, I lived here my whole life. The first time I saw it, I was like, holy smokes. That's not what I said. What is that? It's this giant just ditch with just water hauling like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not even covered. I was like,
The LA River's all empty and shit.
I was like, where's all this water going?
Did you guys get impacted from the floods from up northern California? Did any of that
Right,
flood?
not down here, not yet at least, so we'll say that. So, all that water pretty much kind of runs down out in toward the ocean, unless you're on the, like Tahoe side of the Sierras, some of that will come down into the Carson watershed. But, when we're actually gonna feel the effects of that, hopefully, fingers crossed, is gonna be when all that snow melts. So all that snow that ended up carrying over past those mountains into Colorado should be coming our way once spring and summer hits. Now we're hoping that they get some more, because really it's going to take a few years of really awesome snowfall in order to make a dent.
What about that 5-week straight of rain we had in something like in LA?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we bitched in the walls from.
No, because that's all,
Didn't even go over here,
not
did it?
hardly at all. There's this one mountain range that kind of just dries everything out
Something
before it
about
gets
the
here.
Sierra
Yeah.
Out of the 4 pipes,
Yes.
the diversion pipes, they sealed 3 of them. One of them still active.
Well, so, okay, give me 2 arms. These are the 4 original diversion tunnels, 2 on each side. These 2 now house the penstocks. These 2 outer ones, the intake towers from the lake meet into that, and that's where that,
Okay.
well, actually, no, these 2 go into here. The spillways where the water flows over meet into the 2 outer ones. Then they drilled 2 extra ones for the other 2 penstocks. So those are smaller, but they weren't part of the original diversion tunnels. All right, so awesome terrazzo inlay, beautiful Cardiff green marble. And now you guys are on your floors. There's more of these lovely inlays in these towers here.
They were saying that we can go
Oh, shit.
They can take us up to, if we go back to the visitor center.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So,
If we walk, yeah.
Yeah.
We can stop.
you're looking for the palm trees, you're gonna go back down, they'll scan your ticket again from your wristband, but they will scan your actual ticket. And then you head on up to the visitor center. They do close the doors at 4:14. So you've got plenty of time, but you do have to go back to the security. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in. Pleasure to have you.
We're here.
Oh, you can see the window. See the window? One of the green windows over there.
Oh yeah, I see it. I get it.
This remind me of.
Oh yeah, I see it. So he was down there.
There's the state line.
It should be a railway to the right.
That was this one, right? Yeah.
That's pretty cool. They bring us like right here. Oh, you doing a selfie here? Trying to do a selfie?
Do you wanna?
No, we from over here.
So this is the Arizona side.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me stop it. I think we're good, right?
Go visit
Wanna come
Arizona
to-
real quick.
I think we're good.